Need a piece of paper. Surface. Don't want to like the back of that? Keep the back of that as well. Unless you have it. Everybody need a piece of paper? Need one? You're welcome. All right, so let's take a look at where we're at today. This is going to be section 3-4, as I mentioned. And we are going to start talking about equations today. We'll be spending a couple of days looking at equations. But we're going to start with them today. 3-4. All right, so equations, I know you already know what they are because we defined them way back. Like the first week of class, I think we were talking about them. The difference between an equation and an expression. You guys remember that? What do all equations have? The equal sign. Yep. So an example of an equation might be something like something real simple. You could do like 3 + 4 = 7, right? If I take a look at both sides, they are equivalent. 3 + 4 really is 7. So there's just an example of one. That's nice and easy because I have all the pieces. But very often we're missing one of the pieces. I don't know what one of the numbers is, and I want to figure out what that number should be. So one way that we can do this is by using something called replacement sets. So let me write out the problem, and then we'll talk our way through it. So it might say something like this. Find the solution if the replacement sets are, let's say A, so I'm going to give you some values that A could be. How about 2, 4, 6? And maybe B could be 8, 9, 10. So let me give you one example. Let's say I did something like here, I have a very simple equation, but I'm missing one of the numbers, right? I have it in as an A. So I want to figure out, well, 10 plus what would have to go in that blank to get me to 14? This one's very easy, and you obviously know the answer without even looking up here at the replacement sets. It's got to be a 4, right? But let's say if it were a more complicated equation, if I know I have these replacement sets, that means A can only be one of these 3 things. So what I can do is I can sort of plug in these 3 options and see which one makes sense. Again, this one, we knew it because just by looking at it, I know it's got to be a 4. All right, so in this case, A has got to be 4. All right, let's try one that's a little bit tougher. What if I had something like negative B minus 4 equals negative 13. So this one's a little bit harder to do in my head because I don't know what these are, but what I can do is I can use these replacement sets. I know that B can only be 8, 9, or 10.
17.
But it can't. 17 is not in my replacement set. It's got to be one of these 3. So what we can do, if we don't immediately know, I can test them. I can say, okay, well, let's try.
Oh, I didn't know there was.
Let's try 8. So let's see, is this true? Is -8 minus 4, does that equal -13? Oh, I wrote a B instead of a 4, sorry. So is that true? Is -8 minus 4, does that get me -13? Is that true? -8 minus 4. That's -13?
It's 12.
Right, so this
So
is,
it's not.
that's not it. So it's not 8. Not 8. Let's try 9. -9 minus 4. Is that -13? Yes. So now I have my answer. I don't have to bother trying 10 because I already have my answer. 9 must be the answer. Okay, so some of them, yeah, absolutely, you'll be able to do in your head. Like something like number 1, I wouldn't expect you to test that. Because I know, I'm fairly confident you guys can just look at that and say 10 plus what is 14? It's got to be a 4. But some of the trickier ones, you know, you may not be able to do that in your head. So you can just try the numbers in the replacement set and one of them has to work. So one of them, if you can't find the one that works, let me know and I can help you to try and sort of figure it out. Okay, so let's try another one. Same replacement sets. I'll make this one a little bit trickier. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do it a little bit higher. So it fits better. Let's do, how about -4 times A plus 5 equals, let me think what I want it to be. -19. So you may not immediately know what the answer is. So you're going to test the things in the replacement set. Now this is using the A variable. So the only answers are either 2, 4, or 6. I have to figure out which of those 3 it is. Okay, so let's just try 2. So let's try it. Is -4 times 2 plus 5? Does that really, see how I'm putting a question mark over my equal sign? Because I don't know yet.
2 times 4 is 8. Oh, there's 2 4s.
Well, what's, I'm not sure where you're going with this. Where do you see 2 4s?
It's that.
You were right with your first thing. You said 4 times 2 is 8. It's just that it's negative, right? So you'd have a -8 plus 5. Is -8 plus 5 -19? No. So I know that 2 is not the right answer. All right, let's try 4. -4 times 4 plus 5. You say no or yes?
4 times 4 is 16.
But it's negative, right? So you got -16 plus 5. Bless you. What's -16 plus 5? Is it -19? Nope. So it can't be 4. So we're really hoping that it's 6 because it has to be one of the 3, supposedly. I mean, I guess it's possible that there's an error and it's not one of these, but let's try it. -4 times 6 plus 5. Is that in fact -19? Well, let's see. That would be, what's a -4 times 6? Negative, right? -24 plus 5. Is that -19? It is. So yes, we have found our correct answer. Ding, 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 ding. So 6 must be the answer. Okay, does that make sense? So when we get back from lunch, we will try a couple more. And I have some other equations for you to try, and then that'll be it. Any questions right now? We got like 2 minutes. I can answer something if you have one. All right, so, oops. Not the wrong spot here. Okay, so we'll stop here until after lunch. Also, while I'm thinking of it, so tomorrow we have our quiz, and then we're almost done with this unit after today we only have 2 more sections. So I hate to do it to you, but I think the test for this unit might be on Monday. So we would review on Friday and then test on Monday. That's the earliest it would be. So if I feel like we need another day, then we'll test on Tuesday, but I just wanted you to be aware that we may have to have the test on Monday. Okay? All right. Let's close this. Battleship.
What's it called?
It's called Battleship.
All right, so we talked about replacement sets. So now I just want to do a couple, like what you're going to see on your homework. They have some random, just solve the equation ones. Okay, so the ones that you're going to see this evening will be something like, oh, I don't know. Let's say F equals -4.7 plus 3.9. So I don't have a replacement set here. All I have to do is just handle the right-hand side of the equation. So I'm just going to combine these two, and then there would be my answer. Okay, so it's actually pretty similar to what we had done yesterday. We're just throwing in an equation now instead of just an expression. So if I want to combine these two, am I really adding or subtracting if they have different signs?
You're subtracting.
Exactly. So ignore the signs for a minute, put the bigger one on top, 4.7 minus the 3.9. I'm going to subtract these two. Got to borrow. It's an 8. It's a 0. What is the sign of this answer going to be? Yeah, it's going to be negative. Why? Because if I go back, 4.7 is bigger and that one's negative. So that means my final answer is F equals negative 0.8. Okay, let's try one a little bit tougher. How about if I did something like G equals 4 times 2 minus 3 times 5. We've got a little bit of order of operations going on here. Well, let's go piece by piece. What would I have to do first?
No,
The 3 times 5 would have to go first. So let's do that. 3 times 5 is 15. All right, now what would I have to do? So you could do that. You could do 4 times 2 and the 4 times 15. That's one option. You're not wrong, but there is something else you could do because I can do 2 minus 15.
That's 52.
Wow, what's the 2 minus 15? What does that get me? What'd you say? You mean negative?
Yeah.
Yes, negative 13, right? Because I'm doing 2 minus 15, I get a negative 13. And now I'm just going to multiply these two together. So positive or negative? 4 times 13, I believe, is 52. There's my answer. Let's do one more maybe with a fraction bar. And then I will let you guys get your homework squared away. So let's do one more. See if I can squeeze it in here. How about H equals, let's do 3 times 4 plus 3. Try that one. Remember that a fraction bar kind of works as a grouping symbol, so you have to figure out the top and figure out the bottom separately and then divide. When you do that numerator, 3 times 4 plus 3, what does that get you? Huh?
Isn't it like negative 1?
Oh, for your final answer?
Yeah.
Maybe. Plus, sorry. Yep, that should be a plus. Can anybody tell me what my numerator is? Just the numerator. 3 times 4 plus 15. We get 12 plus 3. I get a 15 up top. What's the denominator going to be? A negative 20 plus 5. Negative 15. So now all I have to do is divide the 2. So soup, we're right. Negative 1 ends up being my final answer.
I think it's a symbol thing. Last semester.
Oh, last semester?
The teacher was just I'm sorry. She was so.
Well, one of the hard parts about math, especially in Algebra 1, is that you're learning the skills. Like it's not really fun yet because you don't have all the skills to do the fun stuff with it. So you got to get there, right?
Some of the fun stuff is like you already know it and then adding something new to what you
I agree. I like to think about it like, remember when you were learning the alphabet? Like learning the alphabet was, okay, A is for apple. Exactly. And then, but it gets really cool when you learn how to read and now you're like, oh my gosh, now I can read anything. It's kind of the same way with math. So we're still just working on our math alphabet, if you will. And then we can get to the really cool stuff.
She didn't even teach. I'm sorry, but she did not teach. But she would put up answers on the board and she would even let us like tell her how to do it. She would just do it and give us the answer.
Right, that's the wrong way. Welcome. I mean, I think we should do them all. It's only 24.
You know what I think?
Huh?
I said, you know what I think? We should only do the first one, right? And then when we come into class tomorrow, do the bottom together.
Let's do them all.